The space station hung in the darkness like a giant metal wheel. Inside the main observation room, aliens from 12 different worlds stood watching. Their eyes, some round, some square, some glowing, all focused on the human who had just walked into the testing chamber. Jake Murphy looked around the small room and scratched his head. He wore a simple brown jacket and old blue jeans. His hair was messy and he needed a shave. He did not look like the other humans on the station who wore clean uniforms and shiny badges. Commander Zix stood at the control panel. His green skin looked like leather and his yellow eyes never blinked. He had been testing aliens for 20 years. No one had ever passed the fire test. Not the rock people who could heat their bodies to 1,000 degrees. Not the gas people who could create lightning. Not even the crystal people who could focus light into deadly beams. Human, Zix said through the speaker. You see the room. Before you, inside are plants, metal pieces, and other items. You must make fire. You cannot use any machine. You cannot use any chemicals. You have 30 minutes. Jake nodded and walked to the center of the room. The other humans watched from behind the thick glass window. Captain Troy Davis bit his lip. He had chosen Jake for this test because Jake knew how to survive in the wild. But now, seeing all these advanced aliens watching, Troy wondered if he had made a mistake. Dr. Lisa Brown stood next to Troy. She had studied every alien race in the coalition. She knew that some could live in space without suits. Others could eat rocks for food. A few could even travel through time. But none of them could make fire from nothing. Why did you pick him? Asked Captain Davis as he pointed at Jake. Because he is different, Lisa said. The other humans think like scientists. Jake thinks like someone who has to survive. In the testing room, Jake picked up a handful of dry grass. He felt it between his fingers. It was crispy and brown. Perfect for burning if he could just get it hot enough. He looked around the room again. There were pieces of metal, but they were smooth. No way to make sparks. There were some rocks, but they were the wrong type for making fire. The aliens pressed closer to the windows. Some were taking pictures. Others were making notes on small computers. A few were talking to each other in languages that sounded like music or static. Keth the bug alien clicked her mouth parts together. She had 6 eyes and could see heat that humans could not see. She watched Jake move around the room and wondered what he was planning. The human appears confused, she said to the others. He is not attempting any of the standard methods. But Jake was not confused. He was thinking. His father had taught him to make fire when he was 8 years old. They had gone camping in the mountains of Montana every summer until Jake turned 18. His father always said the same thing. Look for what you have, not what you need. Jake reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out his reading glasses. They were simple glasses with thick lenses. He had been wearing them during the morning meetings when the aliens showed them charts and documents. The print was small, and Jake needed help to read it. Commander Zix saw the glasses and made a sound like a laugh. The human is going to read his way to fire? But Jake was not planning to read anything. He held up the glasses and looked at the lights in the ceiling. The space station used bright white lights that were meant to copy sunlight. Jake smiled. This would work. He made a small nest out of the driest grass he could find. He put the smallest, thinnest pieces in the center. Around those he placed slightly bigger pieces. He worked quickly but carefully. His hands moved like he had done this 1,000 times before. The aliens watched with growing interest. The human was following a pattern they did not recognize. It was not random. It was not scientific. It was something else. Jake held one lens of his glasses between the light and the grass nest. He moved it back and forth until he found the right distance. The light passed through the lens and became focused into a tiny bright spot on the grass. Impossible, whispered Commander Zix. Simple optics cannot generate sufficient heat for combustion. But a thin line of smoke began to rise from the grass nest. Jake did not move the glasses. He kept them perfectly still. The focused light beam stayed on the same spot. The smoke got thicker. Jake could smell the grass starting to burn. "Captain." Davis felt his heart beating faster. "Is he actually doing it?" Dr. Brown nodded. "Basic physics. Any kid who went to summer camp knows this trick." The aliens did not understand. Their races had developed technology so advanced that they had forgotten simple solutions. When they needed fire, they used plasma generators or fusion reactors. When they needed heat, they used energy fields or molecular manipulation. But humans still remembered how to take sunlight and focus it with a piece of glass. Jake saw the first tiny red glow appear in the grass. He kept the glasses steady and gently blew on the ember. The grass around it began to catch fire. Small flames started to dance in the nest. The observation room went completely quiet. 12 different alien races stared at the human who had just solved a problem that had stumped the galaxy for 200 years. Jake carefully added slightly larger pieces of dry material to his fire. The flames grew bigger and brighter. Soon, he had a fire that would burn for hours. He looked up at the observation window and waved. Commander Zix stared at his instruments. The readings were clear. The human had created fire using only materials in the room and the ambient lighting. No rules had been broken. No technology had been used. "Test complete," Jake called out. "Do I pass?" The silence in the observation room continued for another 10 seconds. Then all 12 alien races began talking at once. The noise in the observation room was like nothing Captain Davis had ever heard. All 12 alien races were making sounds at the same time. Some clicked their teeth. Others made musical tones. A few buzzed like angry bees. The universal translator system could not keep up with so many different languages at once. Jake sat down next to his fire and added another piece of dry wood. The flames danced higher. He had made thousands of campfires in his life, but this one felt different. All those alien eyes watching him made him nervous, but he tried not to show it. Commander Zix pressed his clawed hand against the control panel. The noise in the room slowly died down as the alien stopped talking and turned to look at him. "The test has been completed successfully," Zix announced. His voice sounded strange, like he could not believe his own words. "The human has created sustained fire using only the materials provided, ambient lighting." Keth the bug alien moved closer to the window. Her 6 eyes could see different types of light that humans could not see. She had been watching the heat patterns from Jake's fire, and the readings confused her. "Commander," she said, "the thermal output is consistent with standard combustion. The ignition method used simple light focusing. No advanced physics were involved." An alien made of living gas floated near the ceiling. Its body looked like purple smoke with bright spots that flashed like stars. When it spoke, its voice sounded like wind through trees. "This cannot be correct," the gas alien said. "Our species has tried electromagnetic manipulation, plasma generation, and quantum field excitation. All methods failed. How did primitive optics succeed where advanced science could not?" Dr. Lisa Brown stepped forward. She had been studying alien psychology for 5 years and understood why they were so confused. "May I explain?" she asked Commander ZYX. The reptilian alien nodded. "Please do, Dr. Brown. We are most interested in your human perspective." Lisa looked at all the different aliens in the room. Some were tall and thin. Others were short and round. A few did not have solid bodies at all, but they all had one thing in common. They were all staring at her like she held the secrets of the universe. "Your species developed advanced technology very early," Lisa began. "When you needed fire, you invented machines to make it. When you needed heat, you built energy systems. You solved problems by making better tools. The crystal. Alien in the corner pulsed with different colors as it listened. Its body looked like a walking diamond, and its voice sounded like breaking glass. This is the logical progression of intelligence, it said. Simple tools lead to complex tools. Complex tools lead to mastery over the physical world. Yes, Lisa. Agreed, but humans develop differently. We learned to use what we had before we learned to make what we needed. Every human child learns basic survival skills. We call it camping or scouting or just playing outside. Jake heard the conversation through the speaker system in the testing room. He smiled and threw another stick on his fire. The flames jumped higher and cast moving shadows on the walls. It is not just about making fire, Jake called out. It is about seeing solutions that are already there. A mechanical alien rolled forward on metal wheels. Its body was covered in sensors and computer screens. Red lights blinked as it processed information. Please elaborate, human Jake, the robot alien said. Our analysis indicates that optical fire starting requires specific conditions. Light intensity, focal length, material preparation, and environmental factors must all align perfectly. Sure, Jake said. But I learned all that when I was 10 years old. My dad took me camping every summer. He taught me to make fire with glasses, with mirrors, with pieces of ice, even with a can of soda and some chocolate. The aliens looked at each other with confusion. Captain Davis could see that they did not understand what Jake was talking about. Children on Earth learn survival skills as play activities, Davis explained. Jake has probably started more than 1,000 fires in his lifetime. For him, this test was not a scientific challenge. It was just another day in the woods. Commander. Zix walked over to a large computer screen. Numbers and charts filled the display. He had been running tests on alien species for 20 years. The results were always the same. Failure after failure after failure. Our records show that 847 different species have attempted this test, Zix said. Advanced civilizations with technology that can reshape matter at the atomic level. Beings who can travel between dimensions. Races that have conquered death itself. All of them failed to make fire from basic materials. Because they were thinking like advanced civilizations, Lisa said. They looked for complex solutions to a simple problem. An alien that looked like a walking tree moved its branches in what might have been agreement. Its voice sounded like wind through leaves. The botanical collective has mastery over all plant life, it said. We can accelerate growth, increase flammability, even create spontaneous combustion in organic matter. Yet we never considered using existing light sources for ignition. Jake stood up and brushed dirt off his jeans. His fire was burning well now and would continue for hours without attention. He looked up at the observation window where all the aliens were watching him. The trick is not to overthink it, he said. Sometimes the best solution is the simplest one. The room fell quiet again. Jake could see the aliens looking at each other with expressions he could not read. Some seemed confused. Others looked excited. A few appeared to be afraid. Commander Zix turned to Captain Davis. We need to talk. Commander Zix led Captain Davis and Dr. Brown to a private meeting room down the hall. The walls were covered with screens showing star maps and alien writing. 3 chairs had been set up around a metal table. The air felt cold and smelled like machine oil. Sit, Zix said, pointing to the chairs. We have much to discuss. Through the window, they could see Jake still sitting by his fire in the testing chamber. He looked relaxed, like he was camping by a lake instead of being watched by the most advanced species in the galaxy. Your human has created a problem, Zix began. A very big problem. Captain Davis felt his stomach drop. What kind of problem? Jake followed all the rules. He did not cheat. No, he did not cheat, Zix agreed. That is exactly the problem. For 200 years, the fire test has been our standard for measuring practical intelligence. Every species that joins the Galactic Coalition must pass basic survival tests. Fire making is considered the most difficult. Dr. Brown leaned forward. How many species have passed? None, Zix answered. 0, not one, until today. The door opened and Keth the bug alien entered the room. Her 6 eyes focused on the humans as she sat down in a specially designed chair. I have been analyzing the test results, she said. The humans' method was not just successful. It was efficient, repeatable, and required no advanced knowledge. Any member of his species could duplicate the process. Captain Davis began to understand why the aliens looked worried. You are saying that all humans could pass this test? Not just pass it, Keth replied. Master it, the human Jake demonstrated. Skills that suggest extensive practice. This implies that fire making is common knowledge among your people. Zix touched a button on the table and a hologram appeared above them. It showed the testing chamber and Jake's fire, which was still burning strong. Every species in the coalition has tried this test, Zix explained. The crystalline beings focused their natural light for 6 hours without success. The plasma folk generated electrical fields that should have ignited anything. The silicon dwellers used friction methods that created enough heat to melt metal. All failed. Why? Dr. Brown asked. Because we think like advanced civilizations, Keth answered. When we need fire, we use fusion reactors or plasma generators. When we need light, we manipulate electromagnetic fields. When we need heat, we control molecular vibration. A new alien entered the room. This one looked like liquid metal that had learned to walk upright. Its surface reflected the lights in the ceiling as it moved. I am Flux 9 of the Metallic Collective, it said. I have been observing your human's technique. Our analysis shows that he used knowledge that your species considers basic education. That's right, Captain Davis said. Most humans learn to make fire as children. We call it camping or scouting. It's how we teach kids to survive in nature. The metal alien's surface rippled like water. This is disturbing information. Your species teaches survival skills to juveniles that our most advanced scientists cannot replicate. Dr. Brown realized what was happening. The aliens were not just impressed by Jake's success. They were scared by what it meant. You're worried about what else humans can do, she said. Zix nodded slowly. Exactly. If a simple human with basic education can solve our most difficult test using childhood knowledge, what other problems might your species be able to solve? The room's main screen lit up with images from across the galaxy. Ancient ruins, mysterious machines, and strange objects that glowed with unknown energy. The precursor artifacts, Flux 9 explained. Devices left behind by an ancient race that disappeared millions of years ago. The Coalition has been studying them for centuries. We understand perhaps 5% of their technology. Keth's mandibles clicked together rapidly. The forbidden zones where our ships cannot travel. The silent sectors where all electronics fail. The gravity wells that appear and disappear without reason. All mysteries that our combined knowledge cannot solve. And you think humans might be able to figure them out? Captain Davis asked. We think humans might see solutions that we cannot, Zix answered. Your species has a different way of looking at problems. You try simple answers first, then work toward complexity. We do the opposite. Jake's voice came through the intercom. System. Hey, are you guys okay in there? My fire's still going strong if you want to run more tests. The aliens looked at each other with expressions that the humans could not read. Finally, Zix spoke again. We need to change our original plan, he said. Humanity was going to be evaluated for basic membership in the Coalition. Trade agreements, territorial boundaries, standard diplomatic relations. And now? Dr. Brown asked. Now we are discussing something much more significant, Flux9 said. Full partnership status. Access to all coalition resources and information. Joint research. Projects on our most challenging problems. Captain Davis felt his heart beating faster. Earth had sent them here hoping for simple trade deals. They had never imagined being offered full partnership with the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. There is one condition, Keth said. We need to understand how human thinking works. We need to learn your problem-solving methods. We need to study your educational systems. You want to learn how to think like humans? Dr. Brown asked. We want to learn how to think like survivors, Zix corrected. Your species survived ice ages, asteroid impacts, natural disasters, and planetary changes. You developed technology while maintaining basic survival skills. This combination appears to be unique in the galaxy. The screen showed Jake adding another piece of wood to his fire. The flames danced higher, casting light that reflected off the metal walls. So what happens now? Captain Davis asked. Zix stood up and walked to the window. His reflection showed in the glass as he looked out at the stars. Now we begin the most important experiment in coalition history, he said. We are going to see what happens when human ingenuity meets alien technology. 3 weeks later, Jake found himself on a research ship heading toward the Kepler system. The ship was bigger than anything humans had ever built. It had rooms for 100 different alien species and laboratories that could analyze matter, down to individual atoms. But Jake spent most of his time in the cargo bay, which had been converted into a workshop. The aliens had filled it with mysterious objects that their scientists could not understand. Ancient machines, strange crystals, and devices that hummed with unknown energy. This one has been puzzling us for 50 years, said Dr. Vex, a tall alien with purple skin and 4 arms. She pointed to a black cube covered in symbols that seemed to move when Jake looked at them directly. Jake picked up the cube and turned it over in his hands. It was heavier than it looked and felt warm to the touch. The symbols glowed faintly when his fingers brushed against them. What have you tried? Jake asked. Dr. Vex activated a holographic display that showed hundreds of test results. Electromagnetic scans, quantum analysis, molecular breakdown, dimensional mapping, temporal assessment, and gravitational field manipulation. Okay, Jake said slowly. But have you tried just pressing the buttons? The alien stared at him with her large yellow eyes. Buttons? Jake pointed to the glowing symbols on the cube's surface. These look like buttons to me. Different shapes, different colors. Maybe it's just a simple control panel. Impossible, Dr. Vex said. Precursor technology is highly advanced. It would not use primitive input methods. But Jake was already pressing one of the symbols with his thumb. The cube suddenly projected a 3-dimensional map of the local star system. Red lines connected different planets and moons, showing routes through space that no one had ever seen before. Vex made a sound, like a tea kettle whistling. Other aliens came running from different parts of the ship to see what was happening. The precursor navigation matrix, whispered Commander Zix as he entered the cargo bay. We have been trying to activate it for decades. It's just a touch screen, Jake said, pressing different symbols. The star map changed to show different systems, different routes, different destinations. Pretty basic interface, actually. Keth the bug alien scuttled over to examine the display. Her compound eyes could process visual information much faster than human eyes. These routes bypass the forbidden zones, she announced. They show safe passage through areas where our ships cannot travel. Captain Davis watched from the doorway as more aliens crowded around Jake and the glowing cube. His engineer had just solved another impossible problem in less than 5 minutes. Jake, Davis called out. What made you think to press the symbols? Jake shrugged. They looked like buttons. When I see buttons, I press them. That's how you figure out what things do. A mechanical alien rolled forward on tank treads. Its metal body was covered with sensors and computer screens. Clarification required, it said in a voice like grinding gears. Human logic suggests testing. Obvious solutions before attempting complex analysis? Always, Jake replied. My dad used to say, try the door handle before you pick the lock. Dr. Vex was recording everything on a small device. This approach contradicts established scientific methodology. Standard procedure requires complete theoretical analysis before physical interaction. Why? Jake asked. What's the worst that could happen? Either it works or it doesn't. The aliens looked at each other with expressions of confusion and concern. Their species had developed complex safety protocols and analysis procedures over thousands of years. The idea of just trying things to see what happened seemed dangerous to them. Precursor artifacts could be weapons, warned Flux 9. The liquid. Metal alien. They could contain deadly traps or destructive programs. Jake nodded thoughtfully. Yeah, that's possible. But they could also be useful tools or information storage devices. The only way to find out is to test them safely. He put the navigation cube down and picked up another object. This one looked like a crystal flower with 12 petals made of different colored metals. What does this one do? He asked. Unknown, Dr. Vex replied. All scans show it as inert matter. No energy readings, no electromagnetic fields, no quantum signatures. Jake held the crystal flower up to the light. Each petal reflected the light differently, creating rainbow patterns on the walls. He noticed that one petal was slightly different from the others. It had a small depression in the center, just big enough for a human fingertip. Looks like another button, he said, and pressed it. The crystal flower came alive with soft music. That sounded like wind chimes mixed with ocean waves. The petals began to rotate slowly, creating patterns of colored light that danced around the room. A musical instrument, breathed Dr. Vex, or perhaps an art installation. Precursors had aesthetic appreciation. More aliens gathered around as Jake experimented with different petals. Each one produced different sounds and light patterns. Soon he was playing simple melodies that filled the cargo bay with beautiful music. How did you know to press that specific petal? Asked Keth. It looked different from the others, Jake explained. When something looks different, it usually means something. Basic pattern recognition. Commander Zix activated his personal communicator. This is Priority Alert Zix 471 to all Coalition research stations. New protocols required immediately. All precursor artifacts to be examined using human methodology before standard analysis. What's human methodology? Asked the mechanical. Alien, try the simple things first, Jake said, picking up another mysterious device. Press buttons, flip switches, see what happens. Most things are designed to be used, not just studied. Captain Davis realized that they were witnessing something historic. Human common sense was revolutionizing alien science. Problems that had puzzled the galaxy's greatest minds for centuries were being solved by basic human curiosity and willingness to experiment. Jake, Davis said, I think you're about to become the most famous human in the galaxy. Jake grinned and activated another precursor device, which immediately began projecting holographic images of star systems that no one had ever seen before. Cool, he said. Does this mean I get a raise? 6 months after Jake's fire test, the galaxy was a different place. Human teams worked on research stations across 12 star systems. They were solving problems that had stumped alien scientists for hundreds of years. Doc Jake stood in the main laboratory of Research Station Alpha, looking at the biggest puzzle yet. The precursor gateway was a massive ring made of black metal that floated in the center of the room. It was 50 feet tall and covered with thousands of glowing symbols. Believe it is a transportation device, explained Dr. Yith, a tall alien with silver skin and 3 eyes. Our calculations suggest it can open doorways through space and time. But you cannot make it work? Jake asked. Correct. We have tried every activation sequence, every energy pattern, every theoretical approach. Nothing happens. Jake walked around the giant ring, looking at it from different angles. Alien scientists from 20 different species watched him work. They had learned to stay quiet when Jake was thinking. The ring had symbols arranged in groups. Some groups had 5 symbols. Others had 10 or 15. Jake noticed that the groups seemed to be organized in a pattern, like chapters in a book. Heth, you tried reading it? He asked. Dr. Yith's 3 eyes blinked in confusion. Reading it? Yeah, like a story or instructions. Start at the beginning and work your way through. The symbols are not linguistic in nature, explained Professor Class, a robot alien with a screen for a face. They represent mathematical concepts and energy frequencies. Jake shrugged. Math tells stories too. Every equation has a beginning, middle, and end. He found what looked like the first symbol and pressed it with his finger. Nothing happened. He tried the second symbol, then the third. Still nothing. Maybe you have to press them in order, he said, and started touching the symbols one by one, following the pattern around the ring. When he reached the 10th symbol, the ring hummed to life. Energy flowed through the black metal like water through pipes. The symbols began glowing brighter. Remarkable, whispered Dr. Vex, who had become Jake's main research partner. Sequential activation was never considered. Jake continued pressing. Symbols in order. The ring's humming grew louder. Energy patterns swirled inside the center of the ring like a slow-moving hurricane. Jake, called Captain Davis from the observation deck above. Are you sure this is safe? Probably, Jake replied. Pressing more symbols. If it was dangerous, they would have put up warning signs. The aliens looked at each other nervously. Human logic still confused them. Jake assumed that ancient civilizations would use common-sense safety measures. The aliens assumed that advanced technology would be too complex for simple safety protocols. When Jake pressed the 50th symbol, something amazing happened. The center of the ring filled with a shimmering wall of light. Through the light, they could see another place. A different laboratory on a different world. A dimensional portal, breathed Commander Zix. The gateway is active. Aliens on the other side of the portal were pointing and making excited sounds. They had been trying to activate their own gateway for decades. Jake waved at them and they waved back. Should we go through? He asked. Absolutely not, said Dr. Yith quickly. Unknown destination, untested technology, potential dimensional collapse. Or, Jake said, we could just stick our heads through and say hello. Before anyone could stop him, Jake walked up to the portal and poked his head through to the other side. The aliens there jumped back in surprise. Hi, Jake said through the universal translator. I'm Jake from Earth. Nice lab you have here. An alien that looked like a walking tree reached out and touched Jake's face with a branch finger. You are real. The portal works. Jake pulled his head back to his own side. Yep, it works. Pretty cool, actually. The laboratory erupted in celebration. Aliens were dancing, singing, and making noises of joy in dozens of different languages. Some were crying tears of happiness. Others were taking pictures and recording videos. Dr. Brown entered the lab with a group of other humans. Earth had sent 50 engineers and scientists to work with the alien research teams. Jake, she said, do you realize what you just did? Fixed another broken machine? You opened the first stable portal between distant points in the galaxy. This technology will revolutionize transportation, communication, and exploration. Jake nodded and looked around at all the celebrating aliens. Cool, what's next? Commander Zix approached with a large data tablet. We have 17 more gateways at different locations, plus 43 other major precursor devices that need activation. And after that? After that, we begin Phase 2 of the Human Integration Project. Your people will help us explore the Forbidden Zones, investigate the silent sectors, and unlock the secrets of precursor civilization. Captain Davis joined them near the active portal. Jake, you've changed everything. Humans and aliens working together, solving the galaxy's greatest mysteries. Jake grinned and patted the gateway's metal frame. My dad would be proud. He always said the best way to learn something new is to jump in with both feet. Dr. Vex was already preparing equipment to send through the portal. We must establish formal contact with the research station on the other side. Good idea, Jake said. Maybe they have coffee over there. I could really use a cup. The aliens laughed. Over the past 6 months, they had learned that human humor often contained deep wisdom. Jake's casual approach to universe-changing discoveries had taught them that the biggest breakthroughs often came from the simplest actions. As teams of humans and aliens prepared to step through the portal to explore new worlds, Jake picked up another mysterious precursor device from the storage shelf. What does this one do? He asked, already looking for buttons to press. The galaxy was about to become an even more interesting place.